Start off with a précis. My sister-in-law is dying of cancer in a hospice. My wife is not unnaturally spending all her time with her. And again, not unnaturally, my wife wants me up here with her. And I can understand that. It's supporting her because she's on her own. She's sleeping in the same room in the hospice. So she is with her sister 24 hours a day, comforting her, making sure all the things the nurses are called when assistance is needed. There's always something to drink. She eats if she needs to eat or wants to eat, which she doesn't really. And tries to keep visitors under control so she doesn't get too tired. Her sister doesn't get too tired. And even though I'm ignored most of the time, it's obviously valuable to her that I am here, and I'm happy to do that. It is obviously difficult. I've said in a video, which I may or may not have uploaded, that for a good few years I have not got on with my sister-in-law at all. But I do feel tremendous compassion for her in her current state, and I wish there was anything I could do to help. But I can't even understand what she's saying. So on occasion I'm left alone with her, and most of the time she's drugged and completely inert. Periodically she comes around, tries to talk, and she's in great pain. Sometimes I'm left with her, and I do dread her regaining consciousness and trying to speak, because she needs things, even if it's only response or attention, and I can't hear what she's saying. Does she want me to call a nurse? Does she want a drink? Does she need to be moved in bed? This is something that she can't do on her own. At one time, she could get out of bed with assistance, get to the lavatory. She can't. She's got a catheter and uses a bedpan. And to move her in bed, to change her position, means summoning two nurses. And I would say that the majority of the nurses are brilliant, which I found when my wife was in hospital 8 years ago, quite a long time ago now. So the nursing staff are pretty good. There's not enough of them, and they're under quite a bit of pressure, but they are good. But to get back to the point, they have to be called to move my sister-in-law when she needs to move in bed. But that's difficult. But one of the hardest things to bear is the pain she's in when the medication wears off, and before the nurses have come and given her more. She's always been a very strong person who hides their suffering, and that makes it worse. I do discreetly leave the room when they're moving her and giving her medication, etc. Why would I stay? I can't do anything. But even some distance away in the corridor, I can hear her moaning and whimpering. And it's very difficult because there's nothing I can do to help. all I can do is try and be there for my wife, who is really showing very little emotion and distress. So I just try and be there for her. For me, me personally, I don't mean it like this, but it is an inconvenience because I have things to do at home, things to do to get on with my own life. This was going to be a week of opportunity for me, with one thing and another. But I'm here 250 miles away from home you can't really see it, in this ghastly house. That sounds unkind. It's been made available for people to stay in. The owner's away on holiday. They've made it available for people to stay in who are visiting Janet. And I don't know them, but I've ended up staying in this vast house on my own, but it's awful. This is a minor inconvenience. It's really uncomfortable for me. The tiny B&B I was staying in for the last 10 days before I came here was so much more comfortable, but it was quite expensive. So selfishly, I'm away from home where I would have been doing things that I'd been anticipating very keenly. I'm up here staying in this very uncomfortable house, spending my days in the hospice where I have nothing to do. I sit in the room when I can, but often there are procedures going on and I have to leave the room. If it's fine, I sit in the garden and get sunburnt. If it's not, I sit in a little seating area inside. I read and I doze. And I feel just so helpless. Earlier on, I was able to run some errands, do bits of shopping, but that doesn't seem to be, well, it's not so relevant now. Partly because the family, the sister-in-law's family, who are almost all shocking, they are actually visiting her now, which they weren't doing before, which means in theory they bring things in. But their visits are difficult. Partly because her husband has refused to accept that she's dying and not told the children and not told friends of the family. So the visits have been, I'm digressing. The visits have been very unsatisfactory. And again, digressing further, it is, well, I could say all families are dysfunctional to a greater or lesser extent. But this one is pretty fucking dysfunctional, I can tell you. They are. The husband is incredibly selfish, and the children likewise, no empathy, no thought for other people, very reluctant to do anything for anyone else. And this is partly a product of my sister-in-law, who has always done everything, hasn't allowed anyone to do anything for themselves or for her. She's had to be the one in charge and control. And so she's created this family who, in her hour of need, just doing their own thing. She's been in the hospice now for 3 weeks, and I believe for the first 2.5 weeks, Her husband hardly came in at all. Yeah, it leaves me speechless, really. Everyone's different. When my wife was in hospital with cancer, I spent every visiting time I was there. And sometimes they'd forget and wouldn't throw me out, and I'd be able to stay in there overnight, sitting in a chair beside the bed. Because if you care for someone, this is what you want to do. You want to be with them to help and support them. And I find this apparent callousness very difficult to take. It is my brother-in-law's birthday tomorrow. And so he's done this thing whereby he gives his credit card to his children and then takes them into town, leaves them in town to buy him a present, or buy him presents. Tomorrow he's made plans, so they're going to some sort of show. I can't remember what it was, and they're going out for a meal afterwards. This is him and the children that are at home at the moment. Now I gather he's going on the way to the theatre. They've got a slot whereby they can drop in and see his wife. That just seems bizarre to me. I know she's not very responsive, and I know it's difficult to be around her. And it may happen differently, but I think I've been led to believe it won't. But I would have thought that he would have brought the family in and had some sort of birthday celebration there, because his wife would be aware of this. She even though she can't really talk, she does have an idea what's going on. That just seems rather heartless to me. But it is the way they live their life. They do what they want and sod everyone else. I find it strange. But I also think it's hard on my wife, because they could come in and give her a break. But they don't even do that. My wife had booked the family room at the hospice today, the idea being they come in and watch a film with her. And they come in. It's the second time. They come in, turn up late, watch the film, playing with their phones as they do, and then just bugger off afterwards. Just leaving her in the bed in the family room at the hospice. Today, the older daughter and the husband just went during the film because they had something else to do. And then again, just the remaining children just went. They didn't see the mother back into her room. I don't know. It's perhaps inappropriate for me to go on about this. It's too late now. Because I don't have a relationship with my family. For all you hordes out there who follow my videos, you will know that 37 years ago, 37 years ago? Yeah, something like 37 years ago. I had to check that out. I walked out on my family and severed all contact with them. I ignored one or two attempts from my father and my brother to get back in touch with me. So just left them behind, and it was only in the last year, before Christmas last year, that I made an effort to get in touch with my sister, and we have been communicating sporadically on a very surfacey level since then, for the last 6 months. So I'm not one to talk about being heartless and cruel to one's family. I know that. But this is a family that's a close family. And to see what they're doing, it's just so difficult. What they're doing or not doing. This isn't the way I intended this video to go. It's obviously in me and it needs to come out. I can't even remember what I was going to say. I was probably going to say how awful it was for me having to stay here and be away from a friend I'd like to spend time with and activities in which I'd like to partake. So shall we get back to that? I had a tenuous invitation to go and spend some time with this friend this week, maybe helping her with her work before she goes on holiday, maybe staying over doing some drugs, which is a big thing. I don't assume that's going to happen. It is wholly dependent upon her goodwill. But it was theoretically an offer for this week. And I resent missing that a little bit. Because here I am. I'm not getting sleep. I'm not getting the opportunity to eat or making the opportunity to eat properly. Because I'm in the hospice. So I'm not eating properly. I'm not sleeping properly. I'm in really quite uncomfortable surroundings. So I'm in my second week away from home in places that are not home, where I can't really relax. I'm in the hospice, which they try and make nice, but it's not a nice place to be. And my only role is to be there for my wife. I have nothing to do. Which makes me feel helpless and inadequate. Just useless. She's not my wife. She's a woman I don't get on with and don't know that well. If it were my wife, it would be even harder, but I feel like I could actually do things. I would have a better chance of understanding what she's saying. I could be more supportive, but because she is this woman I don't know, who at the end of the day doesn't really want me there. She wants Amanda, my wife, or I presume she wants her husband, not me. And it's just really weird that I'm her brother-in-law. And I'm by her side all the time. Sorry, that's going back to me feeling awkward and uncomfortable. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent again. It's difficult to see this person who has always been so full of life, so positive, brought so low, and even at the weekend saying she wanted to kill herself because everything's so shite. And this is coming from a woman who would never have said, even thought that before. Someone who's always had to be in control, and now she can't even turn over in bed, she can't even go to the lavatory. She has to be fed. That must be so difficult for her. I'm wondering. It's shite for me, but what I'm experiencing is nothing in comparison to what my sister-in-law and my wife are going through. It's just a minor inconvenience for me at the end of the day. I feel a spare part, and there's nothing I can really do to help. I keep saying that. I'm just here to support my wife, to help my wife. And I'm doing that to the best of my ability. It's a difficult time for her, and if I can make it easier, a bit easier, I've done my bit. But I will leave it at that, because I need to get to bed, because I have to get up in the morning to pack up the washing I'm doing at the moment and take it in, clean night dresses for my sister-in-law, clean clothes for my wife. Do you know, it would help me if my wife were to say, can you bring me in some oranges, some nice chocolate? But she's not even asking for anything for herself. And I wish she would. That would give me something to do to help her, something tangible. And it's important that she looks after herself. She's not eating much. She's not getting out, getting any exercise. And I'm worrying about her in this as well. Anyway, this is a long, boring, rambling video. I can't remember what I was going to talk about, and I've just repeated myself again and again. So I will call it a day now. Good night.